go. My name is Ariel Ademola Oduwole. I am 11 years old, and I flew all the way from Los Angeles, California, on Ethiopian Airlines to talk to you today. First, I would like to welcome you all to the Dream Up, Speak Up, Stand Up program. I am very honored to be here and very excited to be speaking to y'all today. I came on this trip with my mom, my dad, my two younger sisters, Azalea and Ariel, who are 9 and 6, and my younger brother, Ismakaya, who is 3 years old. So this was a family trip, and the reason I came on this trip with my family is because 1, I'm too young to travel by myself, and 2, I do believe that families are very important in life, and I'm sure you can agree with me, right? So let me tell you a little bit about myself. In case you haven't heard my name Ariel, it's actually Hebrew, and it means God is my rock. And God truly is my rock. And just in case you haven't heard of my last name Oduwole, it's actually a Nigerian name, because Nigeria is where part of my roots are from. The other part is from Mauritius. Back home in Los Angeles, I attended a school called Connections Academy, where I have just gone into the 8th grade. This school is a little bit different from most regular schools because I don't have to go into a physical building. Instead, I can do my work via the internet, meaning that every day when I get up, my work is already preloaded. But at the end of the day, I still have homework to do, and at the end of the school year, I still have exams, which I'm sure all of you would have too, right? I like attending the school because it allows me to travel the world with my parents and experience new cultures. Also, if I wasn't homeschooled, it may be a bit difficult for me to be standing here and talking to y'all today. So I'm very excited about that. I like all the subjects at my school because I do believe that getting an education is very important in life. And when I get older, I would like to become many things. Some of the things I'd like to become are an author, an athlete, and when I get much older, I would like to become the President of the United States of America. Now this is actually not my first time to Tanzania. I came here before when I was much younger, I think about 5 years old. And because of how young I was, I forgot all about the country's wonderful people and its beautiful nature. So I'm glad I could be here again. I've been able to interview many people, such as past and current presidents, business leaders, prime ministers, and others. Some of the presidents I've been able to interview are President Uhuru Kenyatta of Kenya, President Joyce Banda of Malawi, President Goodluck Jonathan of Nigeria, and of course, President Jakaya Kikwete of Tanzania. So that just gives you a little bit of information about myself. So what is Dream Up, Speak Up, Stand Up all about? Someone once said, if dreams were for sale, what would you buy? So what will some of you buy? Would any of you like to share your dreams today? Well, that's okay. Dreaming is important because with your dreams, along with your actions, it can help determine your future. And if it's big enough, it can determine the future of many other people as well. And I'm just going to briefly list a few examples of some people who dream big and the effect it had on many people. President John F. Kennedy, who was the 35th President of the United States of America, first stated his dream of landing the man on the moon in the early 1960s, and later on that decade, it had happened. And because of that, we now know a lot more about the moon and outer space. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who was a civil rights leader in America, fought for the rights of African Americans. And because of his fighting, there's now an African American president in the White House today, of course, President Barack Obama. And I'm sure you all have heard of President Nelson Mandela, who fought to end apartheid in this country. And because of his fighting, South Africa has changed a lot since then. So that is why dreaming is important. It is the first step in our journey. So what is speaking up all about? Speaking up is important so you can speak up for your dreams and speak up for what you believe in. In the early 1950s, a young African American woman named Rosa Parks was asked to give up her seat on the city bus to a Caucasian person. And she said no. And because of that, she was then arrested. However, because of her speaking up, it led to the boycott of the city bus services for African Americans, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. standing up for her, and then later on, the Supreme Court ruling against segregation in America. Now, has anyone here heard of Malala? Well, she was a young girl who lived in Pakistan and spoke up for the rights for girls to get an education. However, because of her speaking up, in 2012, she was then shot by the Taliban in her country. However, because of her speaking up, this year, on Malala's 60th birthday, the United Nations claimed Malala Day. And during her speech, she said that the Taliban in her country were hoping to change her aim and ambitions in life. But she said that the only thing that had changed was that weakness, fear, and hopelessness had died, while strength, courage, and power were born. And today she still continues to speak up for the rights for girls to get an education around the world. And she's actually a Nobel Prize nominee. And I'm hoping she'll win because she'll be the youngest person ever to. So that is why speaking up is important. It is the second step in our journey. So what is standing up all about? The most important thing to remember about standing up is to always make sure that you stand, and stand again. Because many successful people failed at first before succeeding. And I'm just going to briefly list a few of those people. Has anyone here heard of Colonel Sanders? Well, he was actually the founder and owner of KFC, or Kentucky Fried Chicken. But did you know that he first started his dream at 65 years old? That shows that it's never too late to start dreaming. He went around in his white suit, knocking on restaurant owners' doors, trying to sell his secret fried chicken recipe, which I think is delicious, and I'm sure you can agree with me, right? Now, can any of you guess how many times he was turned down before being able to sell his fried chicken recipe? Would anyone like to guess? Well, he was actually turned down 1,009 times before being able to sell his fried chicken recipe. Now, if he had stopped at 1,000 and didn't wait the next 9 times, we wouldn't have been able to say that we had any food that was finger-licking good. Now, you may have heard of Walt Disney, who gave us Mickey Mouse and many other famous cartoon characters. But did you know that his first animation company went bankrupt? And that he was fired by his news editor because the news editor was saying that he was lacking imagination? And legend has it, he was turned down 302 times before getting financing to create Disney World. Now, you may have seen some of Steven Spielberg's movies, such as Batman, Superman, Indiana Jones, and E.T. But did you know that he applied to the most prestigious film school in all of California and was turned down twice? So he ended up going to a regular California State University. However, in 1994, That same school that turned him down twice awarded him with an honorary degree. And many people are saying that he has gone on to create some of the best movies of all time. So that is why standing up is important. It is the third step in our journey. So how did it all start for me? What's my story? Well, as you know, there have been a lot of negative comments on the news about Africa, such as the wars, the famine, and the corruption. But because I am of African descent, I know that there are a lot of positive things out there about Africa. So I wanted to do something about that problem. When I was 9 years old, I entered a competition at my school called National History Day. And it was a competition based in the U.S. where students from all over the region would come together and present their ideas in documentary form. Now the topic for that year was revolution, reaction, and reform in history. And with that, I chose to do my documentary on the Ghana Revolution. During my research on the Ghana Revolution, I found out about Flight Lieutenant and former President Jerry Rawlings. And I thought it would be great to interview him as one of my primary sources because I found out that he had a major role to play in the revolution. Now because we are judged on how well we balance our documentary, I thought it would be really neat to interview his successor from the opposing political party, former President John Cooper. So I sent letters to both of the offices, and within 2 weeks, they both came back saying yes, that they'll be happy if I can conduct the interviews with them in Ghana. By the time I came back from my trip, I had just enough time to put all the information I had gathered into a 10-minute documentary, because 10 minutes was the limit for that competition. On the day of the competition, I was really nervous, but at the same time, very excited. And the presentation went great. Because there were more participants on that day than the judges had expected, they had to create a semifinals. And I was one of the 6 called back to represent my documentary towards the end of the day. We had to wait 2 days to hear the results, and I found out that my documentary wasn't one of the 3 documentaries to advance towards the state finals. And I was really disappointed. But I didn't let that stop me from continuing. I re-entered the same competition again this year, keeping my focus in Africa, but this time the topic was turning points in history. So I chose to send letters to current presidents instead. They are President Mauritius, President Joyce Diaz of Malawi, and of course, President Jakaya Kikwete. And those 3 interviews are featured in a documentary you'll be seeing shortly. And that documentary actually won. And I was able to advance to the state finals. And I was really excited about that. Well, to sum it all up, you should always make sure that you dream up and dream big. There's a saying, don't touch the sky's the limit without hoping on the moon. And to take it even further, there's no rope on Mars. For speaking up, you should always make sure that you speak up for your things and speak up for what you believe in. And for standing up, the most important thing to remember is that you stand, and stand again. My advice to you is to have a strong foundation on which you can build your dreams. As my name Zuriel suggests, that God is my rock, that is the foundation on which I build my dreams upon. So, I'd like to end up at how I started, by saying what an honor it was for me to be able to talk to you all today. I'm so very excited. Asante.
Thank you very much, Jangwani. We are good speech, and you have got the message. What she meant by grammar, she meant by speak up, and what she meant by stand up. Clear? Yeah, I don't repeat the pictures for you.